Hi guys, I'm Charlie, a Charlie book fanatic. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to do my first book haul of the year. I realized I actually didn't do a fall or winter book haul last year, so I have quite a few books from last year I never talked about, but I decided to just not talk about those because I show those books quite often on my channel anyway and just talk about the books I have acquired since the 1st of January of this year. And I think I have about 6 or 7 to talk about, so let's get started. I also already talked about most of these books because they were either on the TBR or in a wrap-up, because I've read all but one of them already and I am currently reading that one book. So I've already talked about these in the past few months. The first book I acquired in the new year was actually a gift, and that was Nevermoor by Jessica Townsend. This is the first book in the Trials of Morgan Crow series, and this was such a delight. This is a middle grade fantasy book that takes place in a fantastical land called Nevermoor, about a girl called Morgan Crow who is labeled as the cursed child. Everything that goes wrong in her town is blamed upon her. When someone falls off their roof, it is her fault even though she has nothing to do with it. If she talks to someone or makes eye contact with someone, it is automatically assumed that she is responsible for everything that goes wrong. But then there is a magical guy called Jupiter North, and he whisks away Morgan to this magical land called Nevermoor. And in Nevermoor, Morgan has to go through all of these trials to actually become a resident of Nevermoor, so she doesn't have to go back to her own hometown where she will be killed anyway. Because that's what happens when a cursed child becomes 12, they get killed. Morgan somehow got around that by coming with Jupiter North to Nevermoor, but if she doesn't get through these trials, she'll have to go back to a town and die anyway. Then I also got Skyward by Sanderson. I gifted this one to my boyfriend because he actually liked it more than I did. Although Skyward is one of my favourite books of all time and one of my favourite books of last year. So I can't show you the physical copy because it is on my boyfriend's bookshelf, but I really love this book. It is the first book in a new series by Sanderson. It is actually a YA series. It is science fiction. It tells the story of Spencer, who is the daughter of a pilot who is deceased. He turned out to be a traitor and a coward after he abandoned his space crew in the middle of an important battle, and Spencer wants to become a pilot now, but everyone is afraid that she has the same gene as her dad and also turns out to be a traitor. But they don't really want to let her into the sky, but Spencer finds a way to get into space battles and become a pilot anyway. The book I'm currently reading is a classic, and that is A Wuthering by Emily Brontë. This is a Penguin English Library Classic Edition. I constantly keep buying these editions and then read them. Like, I want to read a classic every couple of months. I've been reading this since the start of February now, I think. After I'm done, I will have finished every single book I have bought this year, which is kind of exciting. Like, I'm doing very well on keeping up with the books I buy. Wuthering is a tragic love story between a character called Heathcliff and another character called Catherine, although I feel like the book isn't really about them at all. Like, something happens to Catherine. You already find out that Catherine is a ghost now. She has died at some point, and most of the book isn't about her. It is still about Heathcliff and his sort of feud with his other guy that lives nearby, and I can't really tell you much more because that's kind of spoilery. The book is very slow going. It is told through an old nanny telling a story to a visitor. It has been explained to me as a love story, but I feel like it is not really about Heathcliff and Catherine at all. What the back says is, Wuthering Heights has achieved an almost mythical status as a love story, yet it is also a unique masterpiece of the imagination. An unsettling, transgressive novel about obsession, violence, and death. It begins as a man is forced to shelter at a strange, grim house on the Yorkshire moors during a snowstorm. There he discovers the tempestuous events that took place there years before. The intense love between Catherine Earnshaw and the foundling Heathcliff. Her betrayal of him, and how this terrible revenge continues to haunt the present. And I guess that is kind of true, although I feel like Catherine doesn't play a huge role in the story at all anymore. She barely gets mentioned. The next book I bought was Crazy Rich Asians by Kwan. I bought this book together with my boyfriend. We split the price. And this is the first book in the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy. It takes place in Singapore. It follows a character called Rachel and Nick. They are dating, and Nick's family is from Singapore, and he takes his girlfriend Rachel to meet his family in Singapore for the first time, but Rachel doesn't know that Nick's family is rich. And extravaganza ensues. Rachel doesn't know what she's getting into with all of these rich people and all of their spending habits. We follow different perspectives in this book, and most of them are Nick's family. We also follow Rachel's perspective, Nick's perspective himself. Just a lot happens in this book. It is mostly an explanation of Singaporean culture, I felt like, but I definitely talked about this more in my February wrap-up, which I will link down below if you're interested in knowing more of my thoughts on this book. Then I got Verity by Colleen Hoover as a gift. This is Colleen Hoover's 2017 thriller release. I feel like this is her first thriller romance, and it was super great. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked this one. It follows a main character called Lowen, who starts to live with this guy called Jeremy because she is finishing his injured wife's book series up for him. and strange things start happening. The synopsis doesn't explain a whole lot about this book, but Lowen falls in love with Jeremy and she finds a manuscript that shows that Jeremy's wife was actually some kind of psychopath and she doesn't know where to show it to Jeremy or not. And the book unfolds from that point on. Strange things start happening in this house and Lowen starts questioning everything that is going on and the whole story behind Verity. You get to see this book through Lowen's perspective, but you also get to read chapters of the manuscript and it is so dark. This book, man, wow, it really tripped me up. It is so good. I would sincerely recommend it. I know this is the recommendation video, but still, in my book haul video, I sincerely want to recommend this book to you because this is one of my favorite books by Colleen Hoover by far. It is not like anything she has published before. Then I bought Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a standalone historical fiction novel written in an interview format. Taylor Jenkins Reid keeps experimenting with different formatting and I really like this formatting. It follows a singer called Daisy Jones and a band called The Six who start working together on different albums and you get to see their dynamics and how everything played out with them and how they eventually broke up and the whole story leads up to that point. You might have seen it behind me already, but I also got this beautiful Shadow and Bone box set. I read the Shadow and Bone trilogy back in December and I really liked it. I am actually going to read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom in a reading vlog this month, so watch out for that in April. That will be up then. But this is the beautiful box set of Shadow and Bone. I already have Six of Crows down there. I still need to buy Crooked Kingdom, but I can't wait to have this entire series because I never expected for me to end up liking this so much. But this series is called the Grisha trilogy and the first book, this is what the first book looks like. It is beautiful edition. It follows a main character called Alina. Alina turns out to be this magical Grisha. She never knew she was a Grisha, but she is the only one of her kind. Not the only Grisha, but that special kind of Grisha that she is. I think it's called a sun summoner. Everyone is depending on her to save them all and Alina doesn't know how to handle herself, but she has to cope to the best of her abilities with all of this. And it follows a mysterious character called the Darkling and Alina's best friend Mel and their romance and it's all very great. I'm assuming that most of you have already read it anyway, but I just wanted to show this beautiful box set. Wow, it's very difficult to get a book back in a box set. If you haven't seen all of the other editions, I can still show you. This is the second book, Siege and Storm, up close. And they're shiny and I think it's really pretty. I will put it back in a minute, but then the last book is Ruin and Rising and it's this beautiful red edition. And the last book I got and want to talk about is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I got this book in most recently. Oh my god. I knew this was going to be an 800-page book, but I did not expect the enormity that is this book. Like, this is how big this book is. I have never seen a book this big before. I was so surprised when it came in the book depository package because I thought it was going to be 2 books. This is the spine. Like, Samantha Shannon's name fits on there horizontally. That is amazing. Like the title, horizontally. Like the spine is that big. I really have no clue what The Priory of the Orange Tree is about, except that it involves an LGBTQ+ romance and dragons. That's really all I know. I can read you the back. There is not even a back to talk about. Oh, but on the inside it has a synopsis, so I will read that to you. A world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. The house of Berethnet has ruled Innis for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Ed Durian is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Ed keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tane has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuse to parley, and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. So I guess it follows 3 different characters, a queen, a dragon rider, and an outsider at court. I did lie though, I didn't read this book yet, so I haven't read everything on this list yet. I have read The Bow Season by Samantha Shannon, which is right behind me. I've read the first 3 books in the series because nothing else is out yet, and that made me want to pick this one up. And I have heard some good things. I didn't know it involved an LGBTQ+ romance until someone tweeted it and it went viral online. So I am super excited about picking this one up, although it will take me a super long time to get through it since it is an 800-page gigantic book. But it is a standalone fantasy novel, so at least this will be 1 book and that will be done. There's also a map in this, which I will show you because I did expect that since The Bow Season also had a map. It is very simplistic, but nonetheless there is a map since this is a fantasy world and most fantasy novels nowadays have maps. Oh, there is another map right there and a dragon next to it. I don't know what that means necessarily, like 2 dragons. Are there any more pictures? No, that's it. And then the book just starts. And the font, I was so surprised by the font, since the font is actually kind of tiny and is a gigantic book, so turning pages will not really be a thing with this book, I guess. So this was my first book haul of the year. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books and what you think about them. What did you buy up until now this year? I would love to know. Thanks for watching. Goodbye!